we are here with Justin to talk everything Databricks apps. So before we get started, you just joined us in January. So why don't we learn a little bit about yourself and how you got here?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me, Ari. I joined in January. My kind of career journey is I initially actually did a PhD in databases. So I was on the more OLTP side of things, doing main memory databases. Spent a bunch of years consulting in finance, a few misguided years at some hedge funds. And then the last 10 years, I was actually CPO of a customer data platform company that was a Databricks customer and partner called Action IQ. And so I was there. We went through an acquisition. As part of that, really got passionate. And that was really kind of the core philosophy of Action IQ is we were trying to democratize data. At that point, customer data from marketing teams. That was kind of the vision of the CDP space. And I like to think of what we're doing with apps here is really about democratizing data and AI much more broadly. And so I joined in January to run the apps platform here.
That's great. Yeah, I love Action IQ and glad that you were part of that. That was quite a ride. And
it was fun.
Before that, with the relational databases, we were talking Postgres was something you've been deep in, and now it's big everywhere, part of Databricks too.
Yeah, my advisor was Mike Stonebreaker, and so he was the guy who kind of did Ingress and then Postgres. It's kind of wild to see. I haven't been in that space nearly as much, and so early on in my career I was, and then I kind of pivoted more to the applications and the analytics. And now, like Postgres is having a renaissance, and with the Neon acquisition. There's just been a surge of Postgres interest in the market, and it's really cool. I mean, I think it's back to the fundamentals, and all of that ties into apps too. So for me, it's fun because it's kind of bringing things full circle. It's like I can get back to some of the OLTP, background that I had in the past 10 years. We were focusing on a data-driven application for marketing and analytics. And here with Databricks Apps, we're kind of tying that all together. So it's exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And I came from the Oracle world. At one point, we were both here at Moscone in different incantations. So.
Yeah, there's a reason behind that, right?
Exactly. And with Oracle, you never knew, and the whole relational databases, what would take the lead. So it's wonderful to see the Postgres, and also open source really take route. And so that leads in, the data is what's driving all the apps. So, love to hear, what's the latest, greatest? You gave a keynote earlier, and what's the latest and greatest?
Yeah, so Databricks Apps is exciting because I think it really ties into this data intelligence for all theme. We're democratizing data. It really gives teams the ability to build these interfaces on top of data and AI, and then deploy them in a secure and governed way alongside their data, alongside their models, really. And that's the value prop here is you don't have to be a Databricks power user to use Databricks anymore. We're really kind of democratizing those interfaces and tying them all together. And the value that I think we're providing is, before apps, if you tried to build an application, you could, like I said in the keynote, you could vibe code the front end and you can build some simple, React app, and that's all great. But how do you integrate that into your data and models and do it in a secure and governed way? All of a sudden, that becomes really hard. You have the SSO, the auth, the permissions. You need to manage the infrastructure and the containers and the VPC and all of these things that are actually the hard part about productionalizing these apps. As a platform, what if we took care of all that for you, right? So you can kind of be able to quickly develop these apps and then seamlessly deploy them alongside your data, alongside your models, completely hosted within Databricks. And as you saw from the keynote talk, clearly there's been a lot of interest from customers. We've seen, we just went GA, we're announcing it this week. But we launched the public preview only in November. So in around 6 months, we've had over 20,000 apps created across 2,500 customers. And so there's just been a tremendous amount of groundswell around this and excitement. It's exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, super exciting. And I've seen the number of users and applications go up. So remember even a slide from not even long ago, it was like 2,000. Now you're seeing 2,500, and it just keeps going up.
Yeah.
But largely, since it's much easier to build, and then being part of like the governance of Unity Catalog. Your data is within Databricks. You don't have to like copy things back and forth, and that's costly,
Yep.
and time consuming.
Yep.
And I'm sure a lot of listeners who have built apps have seen different facets of pain, but I've built Streamlit apps, I've built Shiny apps, and I just want to build like the meaningful part. And like what you're saying, how do you deploy it? I'm like researching, it doesn't work, it should work.
Yeah, or you got to build your own stack on these cloud providers. Like we streamline all of that. Yeah,
and that's what application should be. You're focusing on being productive versus trying to get it deployed and governed.
Exactly. And you brought up a good point. Like you've built things in Streamlit and Shiny and Graudio. Like that's another tenet to what we're doing here that I think has resonated with our customers, is that it's framework agnostic, right? Like this kind of open approach that Databricks tries to take across everything, whether it be, the storage layer or the governance, right? We've tried to be open and build as part of an open ecosystem. So we're not telling you have to use this framework. We're saying we're going to support all the popular Python frameworks. And new this week, we announced support for Node and React. So increasingly, all these popular JavaScript frameworks that everybody's using to build what usually the more mature production-ready web apps, you can use that too. And so that's kind of the point: is whatever framework you're comfortable in for whatever reason, we want to empower you to build there. And then that deployment and governance and operationalization of that app in production, we handle all that behind the scenes.
Yeah, Node and React is huge. I'm sure a lot of people listening are super excited for that.
Yeah, we've gotten, we started to tell some early customers and our advisory boards, and we got great reactions when we were announcing that. So we're excited. I think it's about there's just some much deeper ecosystem for some of for some of the frameworks out there. You can do a lot more customization, a lot more control. So I think it's going to kind of help usher in kind of the next level of maturity for some of these apps. And I'm just excited to see what customers build.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're part of the product advisory board and that we even have this, even pre-launch, right when we're launching.
Yeah.
Any excitement? Any particular things that people are really looking for?
Yeah, I mean, so we just launched this app dev track as part of the product advisory board. So this is a new muscle for us. Like we're just starting to get into this space and think about apps and development as kind of a tangible thing. But what I think is super fascinating is it's our core users that have already been building these apps, right? So it was a conscious decision to start with Python frameworks because that's what our core users have, our core users in the data science and data engineering teams, that's what they're familiar with, right? So what's awesome is like, it's not that we're talking to kind of different personas or different teams yet. I think we will over time as we expand, but right now it's just our core teams. And what they love about this, again, there's, building kind of new interfaces into Databricks, but there's some aspect of this that is just kind of automating a lot of the ops work that they've had to do historically. And I'm sure that will resonate with any data science or data engineering person in the audience. How much of your time is spent kind of doing that manual, I'm going to parameterize this query, I'm going to run this pipeline, I'm going to run this model, and then I'm going to download the results and give it to my analytics or my ops team or my line of business team? Probably a lot, right? And so if you think about it, apps has allowed them to build these kind of custom interfaces, custom workflows to be able to make those processes self-service, right? And that is a huge value prop for them because then they can get back to innovating and building and not just being the ops team. And so, without apps or without higher order tools, your data science team and your data engineering teams becomes your ops team, right? And I think Databricks Apps is a big part of really shifting that paradigm and saying, no, actually, these teams around us should be self-service. We should give them the tools that they need to be able to use this data and use this models in their day-to-day. And by the way, they want to be self-service too, because then they can be a lot more agile with things. They don't want to file a ticket to the data science team and follow along in their backlog and figure out when they're going to get to it. So I think this is win-win, and I think that's a dynamic that we kind of insert ourselves into. And again, a lot of really positive excitement. So in the product advisory board, when we were talking with the leadership teams around this, that was kind of the feedback. It's like, it's been great. Like our team has automated so many of these processes. They've built these apps that are essentially custom workflows around these manual tasks that we had to done. or it's helped us quickly operationalize kind of the new wave of AI that's coming into the market. We've built apps that are, wrappers around LLMs and allowed us to kind of deploy those in a secure and governed way. And that's accelerated the pace of innovation. So, it's not like apps is like, here's a use case that you go and do. It's really, it's a platform and it's a framework. So you can go build, whatever you want. And it's exciting to see what customers are starting to do.
Yeah, very well spoken. Thank you for that. And yeah, with applications out there in the whole market, everyone's kind of shouting applications, but Databricks app, super special since you have all your data in the platform. You have the Unity catalog with the governance, and it really interfaces with everything. So we also have AI BI Genie, which is talk natural language to your data. AI BI dashboards, which is a dashboard, but the apps is really encompassing everything. So you could export to a CSV, you could send an email, you could do data ingestion on the front end.
Exactly.
So true end-to-end app.
Exactly. And I see these things as very complementary, right? Genie is a pre-built set of APIs for having conversations with data. You can integrate that into an app, and we are seeing huge adoption of the new Genie conversation APIs into applications. You can embed AI BI dashboards. Why reinvent the wheel on these visualizations? You can embed them into a more complex workflow in an app. So apps really just helps kind of package some of these things. It's very complementary and build something that's kind of more tailored and end-to-end around them if the use cases are beyond, a dashboarding or traditional BI.
Well, great. Well, anything else you wanted to add? I did want to hear 6 months in ish, you're leading this effort. This is going to be huge. In my opinion, the whole industry is going to change, and really excited that you're here to help lead that. But anything you're looking forward to, within your role of what you're going to be doing?
I think one thing we talked about in the keynote is starting to plug into these kind of broader trends in the market. We announced this app builder ecosystem, to be able to plug into this AI-based app generation, vibe coding, if you will. I just think that apps is becoming a vehicle for us to, better be part of some of these bigger trends that are out there that aren't just the data and the models, but along these use cases. It's not that. It's that we can go and then partner with these ecosystems in unique ways. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to kind of see where that goes. And quite honestly, I'm just excited to see what customers are building. Every time I get a customer call, it's like I get a demo of some very cool app that they've built that they're very excited about. And, I think that's a unique part of this role that I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, well said. And we're wrapping up now, but I agree with you. Seeing what all of our customers are going to be building with Databricks Apps is going to be special. And then all the feedback we get, we're going to not stop. We're going to keep innovating, making it better and better.
We're early. We're just getting going. We're just getting going.